Welcome back, everybody. This is Real Talk with Casey and JoJo. What's up, Casey?
What's your name again? I forgot your name. What's up, JoJo?
It's been a while. It's been what, like 5 weeks since we posted?
5 weeks. Yep.
A lot of unexpected things happened back to back. It became kind of like a
Snowball.
Thank you. The momentum built of things backing up and having to choose, okay, what is really necessary? What do we really need to do right now? And then I took a week to go to Florida and visit my mom.
Hold on. This motherfucking real talk. You're not being real at all.
Because I'm like, we have so much to say that I don't even think that's even important right now.
I don't remember what happened, but we got into it, right?
It was an unnecessary discussion that turned heated.
Her and I got into it, and not in a physical way. It was just we emotionally, we energetically fight these days, right? Like we just don't talk, and it's just like whatever. Like it's hilarious because she's still bringing me like a glass of water. I'm bringing her like iodide to put on her wrist, but we're not speaking to each other.
Right,
that was like the extent of it.
No, but it turned into a 4-day thing. It turned into us fighting or not speaking for 4 days.
Fighting.
But that weighed so heavy on me that I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna just quit everything.
Well, and she said, I said, what about our podcast? She goes, I haven't written my chapter. I said, why not? She goes, because I can't write about how much I love you right now. So touche.
And you know, it snowballed. It snowballed from there. And then I got writer's block for like a month. And you know, here I was writing every single chapter every single week. And now I was like, chapter 11 every day on my calendar, right? Chapter 11. And I just couldn't.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I thought maybe I'm like, damn, maybe she doesn't love me anymore. Maybe it's gone. It's finally withered away and flown the coop.
Oh, yeah. So much has happened. And you know, I'm glad to be back. But we have a lot of catching up to do. For those that have just started, because there's a few people that have subscribed. So for those of you that have not watched previously, we normally do just real talk about real things here and there. But this last season 2, we have been specifically talking about our relationship. Now, I am currently writing my second book, Summer Love. So the first one is Spring Manifestation, where I go over every single sign and how that influences us during that time of the year. And so this time around, I'm kind of following that same pattern, only this time it's how each sign or each month or whatever influences our relationship or relationships, period. But specifically our own. So we talk about our entire relationship, which is basically 24 years long, throughout this 12 sign cycle. And we are right here in chapter 11, which is Aquarius. And we have basically gone over, let me give you a recap real quick. Aries is actually, they're all right here. So because it's been a while, Aries is the itch, and it's all out of order, even though I just did this. Hold on. There we go. All right, the itch. So that first spark, right? The feelings when you first start a relationship and you're super excited and you don't really care about all the obstacles and the challenges that are going to come your way because you're so in love, and it's like cloud 9 puppy love type stuff.
I'm glad you said that, because thank you, universe. That was a justification that I should ask this question. So is that the stage when you tell someone I love you?
I see where this is going.
It's coming up. Be ready.
Oh,
but is
snap.
Is it? Is that maybe? Anyway, continue. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, how many people just basically fall in love
and we just watched Friends with Ross talking about I love you. That's what made me ask the question. More on that later.
Yeah.
To be hold.
Yeah, pause on that one. Okay, so the second was stubborn and toxic habits / relationships. So we dug a little bit deeper into my past, as far as actually our past, and the stubborn toxic habits like drinking and suppressing our emotions in different ways, and just that snowball effect of carrying all those energetic traumas with us and not letting go, and having those toxic traits kind of linger, but then fall over into our relationship. The third one was Gemini, which was two sides of the coin, seeing two different perspectives, what the aspects of Gemini are in a relationship, the curiosity of seeing things from, every single angle, etc. The fourth one was, oh, I didn't know I can do that there. Cool. The fourth one was emotional. What was this? What was this, baby?
I don't know.
Something. Emotional strength.
Something.
It was emotional strength. How are we able
right.
to, continue emotionally? Where did we get the strength to continue on regardless of basically being punched or, having to turn the other cheek way too many times? Like, how do you get the emotional strength to get back up when you feel like you've been beaten down mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually? Like, you're just beat the fuck down, 5 was loyalty. So how loyal we were to each other, regardless of what was going on. And we had, kind of gone off in our separate ways, but yet we were still loyal to one another. Then it's the little things in Virgo. The little things in Virgo was all about the little things that kept us together and also the little things that kind of broke us apart.
Shout out to all my Virgos. If you don't know, the moon is in Virgo. So
full moon in Virgo, right before
yourselves.
The equinox.
You might be told what to fix in the next 3 days by a Virgo.
Right.
I apologize on behalf of all Virgos, but I don't.
Both my son and him are Virgos. And when it's cooking time, nothing is perfect enough. Okay, then balancing the scales was when we shifted from, what happened during the first top half of our relationship when we were enlightened with all of our challenges and obstacles, right? And then hitting this where, okay, I took all this, we went through all this, but now it's time to kind of even the scales. And then this is kind of when I came around with, my side of the story. For more, just please watch the rest. Then we went to the 8th, which was deep desires. All the deep desires we had inside that we basically push and suppress and don't really act out, but then they come about later on. So why not just follow them in the first place? To some degree. And then surrender, the surrender stage. That was episode 9, and that was in Sagittarius. That one was pretty good. And that was really just, seeing things from a higher perspective, learning that there's more to this than just what's been happening to us, but there's a purpose for this, right? There's a point to all this. So we're looking at it from a higher help me out here. A higher perspective, like, what's it called when you're looking at it from an eagle's eye point of view? Thank you. So then you can see that this is headed towards something. We're doing this for a reason, etc. And then the 10th one was life goals. We started to have life goals, but we still weren't aligned with where we were going. So we're left off here with 11, Aquarius, purpose. So purpose is the name of the chapter, and it is all about what is our purpose? Why did we go through everything we go through? So for those of you who have been watching, we left off with me going on a motorcycle ride with my Mr. Goodnight, and realizing that, there you go, like, you're gonna have your time to shine and talk. Realizing that I was having to pull out my phone and text Keith and let him know, hey, I'm okay, we're eating. And realizing, like, as the light comes in, it was like a ton of bricks falling on my head. Like, what am I doing? I thought this was my twin flame, Mr. Goodnight. I thought I was like aligning myself to the point where, I had divorced him, and here I was writing and spending time with him, and just realizing you're not the one. And like the ton of bricks that were falling on my head, I'm like, oh my God. The more realizations I got that it was Keith all along, and that, it wasn't really him. So here we are at the point where nothing makes any sense. I've already changed my identity like through everything. Social security, everything, business cards, websites, you name it. And then here I'm like, okay, what do? I want to get back with him, but this has to make sense to me. And most of all, it has to make sense to other people. And most of all, it has to make sense to Keith. So I'm like trying to make sense out of all of this in my head. I started meditating and I came across the word catalyst and, realized, oh my God, he is my catalyst, which is a kind of like a replica, a mirror, that they share an energetic blueprint that mirrors yours, that's kind of helping you spiritually awaken and become more conscious. And they're there for the reason of having you realize that you're going to come together and away until you realize and learn that they are not your actual twin flame. They're there to help you ascend. They're there to help you level up. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I have some work to do with my own leveling up, because this is my catalyst. And while I'm in this like running dynamic between Keith and I that I hadn't realized, I was in the middle of this catalyst twin flame relationship to kind of show me what the hell was going on between me and Keith. And I'm stopping there because, oh my God, I haven't stopped talking for like what?
No, you're good. Yeah, and so like kind of telling my side of the story is, I'm at that point where, we've been through this rodeo many times. Like we've split up, we've broken up, we've never got divorced. That was the first. But this is a pattern for us, right? And the difference for me in this pattern was that I was working on myself, right? Like I was trying to improve myself. I was much more, well, submissive is the right word, but I just, it's like, it is what it is. The situation is such that you must let it play out the way it needs to play out. It required patience. It required understanding. It required me stepping out of myself and looking at it from her point of view to gain the eagle eye perspective so that I could digest all of this, because I knew that ultimately, as many times as we've broken up, we always came back together, but it was kind of like, we might as well do this, right? Like if you've ever heard that song by Jagged Edge, it says we should get married. We might as well do this. And I always hated that fucking song. And I think I know why, because that was kind of my attitude. It was like, I can't let go of you. I don't want nobody else to have you, but I ain't really willing to man up and level up within myself so that we can become whatever it is we need to become as a couple. I was never willing to do that. So we just might as well do this, just kick the can down the road. Well, the situation was such, and, this is how a lot of things play out in my life, is that I put myself and created a situation in which I had to I was handcuffed, right? I had to sit and be quiet and be supportive. And it was easy to do, but it was very difficult to do. And that's a different story. Maybe that's a season 3 podcast. But that was where I was at, right? I had to be patient and I had to let her figure this shit out. But I always thought when she called me up or told me, hey, I realized this, you're the one. I always thought like I would feel like, it'd be like winning the lottery, but it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It was like an exhale, right? But that's when like I guess the real work began, right?
Yes. And I thought like, okay, I finally made a decision. Finally, after how many years? Like three, 3 years.
4.
It was 2013. And then in 2016, 3 years, I was like, finally, like, oh my God, I made a decision. So when I said yes, like, this is it, let's do this. I think he was kind of waiting for the okay, where's the other shoe, waiting for the other shoe to fall, to drop. Like, well, I don't think that, like, is it though? And I think you empathically kind of felt, we're starting to really feel like we were feeling each other more. We were in sync more. So whenever I was still kind of processing and dealing with how am I going to say goodbye or let go of him now, after I had just thought that, he was the one, and reversing that, like, I wasn't prepared for the having to let go part. It's really hard for me in the first place to let go
Well,
of people. So for me to let go of somebody that I cared so much about, it was like, wait, oh shit, how do I do this? And
well, too, in your
do it.
pride. I mean, you're a prideful
Yeah.
person, right? And two, like I think for me, I wasn't expecting you to. I expected you to pick Edward, right? That's what I thought. So
But you were Edward.
I know that, but I didn't. You got like from my perspective, I'm going through
Twilight
this.
reference.
I'm going through this and preparing for it to be over, right? Like that's where I'm at. Because again, for me mentally, and I think I've said this before, is that I had made so many mistakes, made so many poor decisions. I was working on myself. It wasn't for me. It was about a little bit of repentance, but it was about just sitting there and being in tolerance, right? And just accepting it for what it is. And that when the day comes that she says I'm moving on, then I'll do the best I can and move on. That'll be
So you prepared more for that
I
than
think so.
prepared
Yeah,
more for
for
us getting
sure.
together?
For sure, because my thought process was I did not know what a twin flame was until she told me about this, right? But I wasn't it. It was somebody else, right?
Right.
So I learned about this stuff on my own, trying to understand the dynamic and what was going on. And the whole time it's like, well, if that's your TF, man, like I can't fuck with the universe. I can't fuck with God's plan,
Right.
right? Like there's like I'm
God's
just
plan.
here, I'm just here doing God's work, helping you along the path so that you can do the big God plan with him. And that was cool. Yay. You know what I mean? Like that was my mindset. So for you to come back and say, just kidding. What?
So
Oh,
you had the bricks falling on your head too?
oh, for sure. But it
That's
but it
so
was it
cool.
was it was very much like internal though. You know what I mean?
Of
It was
course.
internal bricks.
Well, so were
I mean, they weren't real
mine.
bricks, of course,
Well,
but
neither were mine.
oh, that was stupid. You never did that.
Fuck, the universe didn't throw me bricks. Anyway, so yeah, when we were on this like, whoa, I'm really gonna be with you type thing, I moved back in or moved in here because I'd never lived here before. Moved into this house and we decided to make the townhouse that I was in into basically a place of work. I had my makeup artist studio, my office for when I worked for RNF, and then metaphysical stuff downstairs where I did readings and Reiki and things like that. And so that was like my go-to place to escape from. I think it was like my transitional home, right? Because I transitioned from that life and even from him because I was still seeing him and like we were friends, so we had to like slowly part that away. And then there was the other layer of, okay, so I don't talk to him or see him, but then now what about thinking about him? What about when his name comes up? How many times did his name come up? It's like it was telling us like she's not over it, or he's not over her, or this, you're not over it, right? Like someone wasn't over it and it was all of us.
No, it was all of us, for
And
sure.
so the thinking part, right? Then I'm like, shit, there's a lot of thinking that I have to like control, because once you realize how much subconsciously you're thinking about stuff, then it's like, wait a minute, why is that? So you got to go deeper. And then I started realizing the emotions that were attached, that I had suppressed, right? And I'm like, man, this takes a while. And that took about 2 years before you really were like open enough to accept like, okay, we're really gonna get back together. You were just kind of like waiting to see if I was really over him. And it wasn't until really just recently that I like really, really got over him, because I had to peel back all those layers of the spiritual aspect and the emotions. And that shit takes, if it took 3 years to have like strong feelings for him. And all of a sudden, like you don't just get rid of them in 3 months.
That's a beautiful segue. So when you say strong feelings, I mean,
Yes,
how
yes,
strong are we talking
yes,
about?
yes,
So
yes.
I asked her the question. I asked her
Yes.
the question earlier today because we were watching Friends, right? And if you've seen Friends, it was when Ross tells Emily, "I love you," and she's "Thank you," and she turns around and walks off. Anyway, I looked at her and I was like, knowing we were going to do this podcast, and I'm like, "Did you say I love you to him? Did you
Like,
guys exchange I
but
love yous,
you
man?"
should have known. Like, I think you knew that, and maybe you forgot or you suppressed it or something. Because how would you not
Okay, so
know
the
that?
answer is yes. Now, my
Yeah.
follow-up question: How did that feel? Me asking you that today. How did you feel? Describe that in the best way you possibly can, and be 100% fucking honest, because this is real talk.
Holy shit.
Yeah, please. How did you feel? Because I know how you felt. I felt it. I just need validation.
I mean, when you love somebody, it's still there. You love them, you love their soul, you love like that connection.
So, so you're saying you still love them? It's always going to exist, is what you're saying?
As a not as a human, as a soul to soul, like
Yeah.
souls always love. That's
Yeah.
eternal. That's not
It's
something you
eternal. It's a
kind of
God love.
break.
It's agape. Is it agape?
Yeah, it's like
It's
whatever love
agape.
that is, that's always there in that layer.
Right.
But as far as like being in love, like no. But that doesn't mean that like I don't love a person. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm very,
Okay.
very grateful for him being in our lives, because it changed the dynamic of our lives. You know, it changed,
The
it
trajectory.
brought us to where we are now. So I'm super grateful, and we had a
Cool.
good bond. But that doesn't mean anything.
So
Like,
what else? What else did you feel? That's it? I know you felt more.
what do you mean?
What else did you feel? Did you feel guilt? Did you feel shame? Did you
No.
feel, what else did you feel besides that? Besides, yeah, you know, I still soul to soul. Like that's it?
I mean, no, I mean, I don't ever think about that, right? Even though we're writing all these chapters, I don't think about that. But then
About what?
the I love you too, I love you part, like you said, did we say it to each other, right? Like, yeah, so it kind of brought back memories of when that was said to each other, and then I was up,
And then you let it go?
and then I let it go. Memories are going to pop up,
Of course.
but I let it go, because what is there to hold on to?
Do you feel like a different person? Do you feel like that was like you're the same person, or do you feel like you were completely like that was another lifetime ago?
It feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I was a different person.
For sure.
But I feel like, okay, I feel like he helped me kind of you helped me tear down a lot of like of the programming and the conditioning and whatever, right? But I feel like I got to that point, like where we all get to where we have like this plateau. And I feel like he, like, once you broke me down and I was like just ashes, and he was helping me kind of rebuild, I feel like he helped me rebuild, like accepting myself for who I was, like my true self. I feel like I was trying to be somebody before. And then when I met him, it was more real. Like, as far as like, I was really real with him and he was really real with me. So I was able to be myself. And I was able to carry that into, why am I trying to be anybody else other than me, into my life now. So a big aspect of meeting him and the lesson that I got was for me to accept myself the way that I am.
And why do you think that you weren't able to be yourself prior to that?
I guess because of all the things that happened, like in the Gemini chapter, for example, when, you know, I was being myself, but you kind of broke up with me and I kind of almost tried to commit suicide. Because like, I don't
You
know.
talking about like 20 years ago? 20?
Yeah, like little things that I
Ah.
felt like you didn't accept me for me, or I had to be a certain way because we were so different, you know? So I had to be more white type, you know what I mean? Not because of you, but because maybe like your family. Remember, I tried to always be like, how can I be more white today? Like when we're going to go see your family, because I felt like I was too Spanish to be around them. And so I felt like I had to diminish who I was.
That's so weird, man. Cause like I've never felt that way going to your family's house. Like I've never felt like I need to be more Hispanic or I need to emulate being Hispanic. Cause that would be like fake as fuck. Like, why would I do that? Like
Because they're
that's
so
so crazy.
accepting.
I mean, I don't know. That's a different podcast. Because I got some shit to say about that, but that's a yeah, complete 180. Well, okay. And I think like, you know, when you're going through it and you're looking back on it, right? Like I would wake up having dreams of her like with this dude, and I was mad at her for that shit for like years, man. Like years after, even after we got back together, like for years this shit went on and on. And I don't really have those dreams anymore. And I think it's because like I finally let go of that part of the ego died, because your ego, when you go through some shit like this, your ego doesn't work in the past, it works in the present, and it convinces you almost like I'm looking at the you that was in love with him and that did all these things and that didn't give a shit about me, but just that decided to let all that happen, even though I know the role I played in it. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it's like, but your ego doesn't, when you're in your ego brain, you don't think in those terms. It's not rational. All
Right.
you do is feel like that bitch, like this bitch, this bitch. Right. And so like that part of me was very much there, and it was suppressed. And it was not, even though I convinced myself that I was accepting and I did all these things and I was supportive, that part of me was holding on like as hard as it
And you
could.
can tell.
Right. And
You
I
can't
mean,
hide that.
yeah. And for me, like,
Not from me, like energetically, that's like there, like an elephant in the room.
yeah, man, it was years of struggling to let that go. Like I would even hear the dude's name and it would just like frustrate me. You know what I mean?
And it
Like,
would be constant. He's like, seriously, what in the
and
fuck?
I
I'm like,
remember,
well, that's you,
and
because I'm not thinking about him, so it's you.
I remember we had done one of these podcasts, and we got on something in the QE Academy, and Michelle's son's name is the same name as this gentleman. And at that point, like I was like, great. I was like, he's here. And I think I said that shit out loud and I apologized to him, right? But when I got off of that podcast, like I was like, dude, like what a dick thing to do. Like that poor dude has nothing to do with this situation. It's like, what in the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's just his name.
But that moment for me, as small and minuscule as it was, like that sort of was the last piece of the puzzle for me. I was able to put it to bed, so to speak, after that, to where I still it's always gonna, I think, irk me a little bit, like nails on a chalkboard, but it doesn't trigger me, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me. It doesn't cause me to go back and let that ego latch on, right, and start replaying all these things and bringing the past into the present. But ultimately, I say all that to say this, that when you're going through this and you're dealing with that same shit, like your spouse is not the same person anymore. Like you're looking at her through the lens of a lens that is dirty and doesn't even exist. Right. And it's so easy to get caught up in that. And it's so easy to look
look
at
at the
someone.
person as if they're doing that still. And it's like, no,
Correct.
that was my past. You can't get on me for that.
Right. And holding a decision that they made kind of over their head because your ego is not able to process it, because you're rationalizing the reason why you should be holding it over their head. And I mean, it's hard as fuck to get through that. But yeah, man, that shit's a struggle.
But here's the cool part. So in the process of writing this book, right, of our entire relationship, and seeing how we are basically completing an entire cycle all the way to the next chapter, which we're going to touch on later, which is when we actually truly get back together, and then everything we've done since then. But we realize, okay, that's a whole, like, that's years. That took us 20 something years to get through this one cycle before we level up to the next cycle, because this is like this. And it's been therapeutic, not just to write about it and to read it, but then to do a podcast and to talk about our feelings that have to do with this. Like, just like in this book it was very therapeutic. I've kind of like realized, wow, man, every single book is super therapeutic, because you're allowing these suppressed emotions or thoughts that have been stored away to kind of come up, and for you to let them out in some way, shape, or form. So if you're a writer, if you you've been thinking about writing, do it, because it's so therapeutic. Or if you wanted to start a podcast, do it. It's anything that you can to express yourself, do it. Another thing I wanted to say was, this book is going to be going on sale on March 21st, because that's going to be a year, right? A year's anniversary. So I'm going to be putting this like 75% off, pretty much. Huge deal, before the next book comes on the summer solstice, June 21st. And then, speaking of, the second season has been all about our relationship. So we decided to move the whole relationship aspect into a new podcast called The Fifth House, which is going to be featured in Akasha Flix, akashaflix.com. It's a streaming service for basically conscious content, and our podcast is going to be specifically on everything love related, loving your children, conscious parenting, loving what you do, your passions, loving your relationships, your spouse, sex, marriage, love,
Kids.
everything, everything love related. So if you're interested about anything relationship wise, go to akashaflix.com, and then just, subscribe so that you can watch not just us, but a bunch of amazing creators that provide super cool content for mind, body, and soul. Then we're going to just continue with Real Talk Casey and JoJo, which is basically real talk about real shit happening, not our relationship, because that's going to be moved over. So yeah, anything else that you want to share?
No, I'm glad you said that, because yeah, I mean, I think this has been therapeutic. I mean, we our main purpose has always been to help people, because if somebody's going through this, then anything that we say that can sort of get you through it, shift your perspective, shit your consciousness, shift your consciousness, like, cool. But that's kind of was the motivating part of it. But then as me personally, as I've gone through it, it's like, yeah, this shit's been healing as fuck. And it's like, I keep telling myself, like, whether one person watches it or 50,000 people watch it, it's therapeutic. And that's kind of kept me motivated. But it's cool because I think just now I had this realization, because, I've never really healed fully from something this major, if that makes sense. So that's like, I told her, I'm like, man, we only got 2 more episodes. I'm so happy. Like, I want to get done with this. And I didn't understand really the power in that, because that means that I'm ready to let go. Like, I'm ready to let go of all this, right? Like, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to put this to bed. And that doesn't mean that, you forget it. It doesn't mean that it's forgotten.
It's part of our story.
It just means that I'm done, like, being triggered by it.
You're done carrying the luggage.
Yeah, I'm done
it's heavy.
caring what people think. Because it's all out there. Like, I'm done caring what
it is.
Caring, just about all the bullshit that comes with letting your ego be in control. And yeah, so we got 1 more. That's gonna be cool. Thank you guys again for watching and listening to our stories and story.
We should be back on a regular week to week basis now. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. we come out with our episodes, so stay tuned for the next one, which is Unconditional Love. And that's where we wrap everything up as far as that level goes. And we package it up.
Season 3 is gonna be fun, man. I can't wait. We're gonna have some fun and talk about some
guests
cool
on
shit.
there.
Yeah, talk about some cool shit and just kind of keep it real, keep it raw, keep it moving.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.